In this video, we're gonna talk about the future of gaming because GTA with AI has officially arrived and you can play it even before the release of GTA 6. And this isn't just a tech demo, you can actually play this game. We're going to explore the future of AIs that are building entire universes for the next generation of games. We'll talk about all of this in today's video, but first, let me know in the comments below, have you ever dreamed of creating a game and you thought, man, but that must be really hard? I never studied programming. Well, now that's possible with what I'm going to show you in today's video, but leave a comment because I want to know. Let's go straight to my computer screen. Today, I brought in an American expert in artificial intelligence. At the end of the video, I'll share his channel so you can subscribe. It's really worth it, okay? So let's get right to it. 3, 2, 1, go.
You know, considering all the delays and obstacles we've faced on the way to Grand Theft Auto 6, it's become a running joke that we'd get Grand Theft Auto with AI before we ever got Grand Theft Auto 6. And, as it turns out, we actually did. And you can play it right now. Now, does it look as good as this? Well, of course not. Actually, it's kind of clunky, but it's also kind of impressive and serves as a milestone for the future of gaming. Especially when you consider everything else that's happening in the AI landscape. Alright, let's check it out before our wanted level hits 5 stars.
Hey, if it's that graphic over there where the car just passed by, that's already excellent.
So, this is Mirage from Dynamics Lab, and it's the latest in real-time AI world generation simulation. Basically, a fully generated game. Now, just to clarify the issue, yes, it looks a bit more like GTA 4 running as an emulation on a PS2, maybe an old PS3. It certainly doesn't look anything like Rockstar's next title, and I'll be honest, it's actually worse. That said, this isn't a video proclaiming it as a Game of the Year contender. Instead, what I want to focus on is the technology behind it, where its current limitations are and where it's headed, because even today, we can turn this into that. And we'll talk about that soon. So,
and there it is. Now that's good, huh? And it definitely is. It's a generation that you do there in real time. And then you can do a kind of upscale to improve the resolution. But what needs to work is it has to move. It has to generate the cars there. I already know how it works because I've tested a few, but I'm not going to give everything away now, right? Otherwise, you won't stick around until the end of the video, right? Let's go.
Mirage currently has 2 games you can play, although we'll talk about something interesting regarding that later. But ready to use, we have Urban Chaos and Coastal Drift. Obviously, one is a GTA-style game, and the other is a racing game in the style of Forza. Now, the way this works, and we've seen some other projects in this area as well, is that just like the AI Doom project we saw last year, and more recently Google's Houdini 2, there isn't a game engine here, but rather a frame-by-frame video generation that you can control. And what's interesting about this iteration is that you can actually send text prompts within the real-time video generation as well. In terms of output, it's generating 16 frames per second, which, as I know, is far from the modern gaming standard of 60 FPS. But it generates for much longer actually, minutes unlike previous versions, which we saw hovering around 10 to 20 seconds. Now, in terms of actual gameplay, well, let's jump into Liberty City and see what we've got. So, to start, I definitely have to point out that there's a significant amount of lag when you're playing this. So, it's not really, a game per se. Actually, as I watched our character here, yeah, so there's
a bug that existed, a flaw that was present in the other versions, which we'll see if it gets fixed now with this. Since it's generating in real time, you must have already generated an image, right? You generate an image, and what's the problem? If there's a character there and you want to repeat that character for a long time, even today, but especially for a long time, you couldn't recreate the same character because you describe it. Oh, I want a woman. Let's take this one. Look, this guy here. Oh, I want a man around 30 or 40 years old with a scruffy beard wearing a brown cap and a gray shirt, for example. It will generate a man with those characteristics, and then it will generate another man with the same characteristics, similar but not the same one, which is what we call character consistency. So what happens? It kept evolving, and today with some AIs, like ChatGPT, for example, or Google or Flux Context, which I've already shown here on the channel, you can already do this. With video, it's more difficult, but it's possible. We're already getting there. So what happens here in these universes? Right now, you're looking at this scene with a car here and these trees, right? Then when you turn, say, to the right, for example, it will keep generating here. Why? because it's generating images, right? Isn't it 16 frames per second? So every second it generates the frames, right? But if you look carefully over there and then look forward again, this specific area here won't be quite the same anymore. Instead, it'll be another somewhat similar area, but it won't have consistent uniformity here. That's what was happening before. So it's the same logic as character consistency, because like it or not, these are images generated very quickly, which makes it look like a video, right? Because they're generated very fast. That's how it works. So that's the big problem, right? Let's see here if that's been solved.
Yes, there is a significant amount of lag between, actually issuing a command and your character actually doing it. For example, we can actually throw a punch. So, was that the guy over there? Let's see if we can punch that guy. I don't know if that guy will still be a guy. Let's see. Besides Inzi. Okay, yeah, actually we kind of punched him. I don't know. No, he's not a guy anymore now. And that's something to note. Object permanence is something that hasn't been fully resolved here. We'll talk about that soon. For example, if we turn our camera all the way around, that's not the same taxi. It looks like someone came by and took the parts while we had our backs turned. The street obviously isn't very busy. Actually, if we press the V key, that's to shoot.
Just a reminder, folks, this looks grotesque. It looks like a PlayStation 2, but look at how much this has advanced in the last few months, right? I've already brought several videos here about Google VO3, and there's that joke about Will Smith eating spaghetti, right? A year ago, what it was then compared to now, you practically can't tell what's real and what isn't anymore. So just imagine this in the world of games. In 6 months, a year from now, this is gonna look like PlayStation 4 or even PlayStation 5, By the time we're at PlayStation 6, we'll be here generating AI at the PlayStation 5 level.
So, if we don't shoot at anything, we have no one to shoot at. And obviously, the police aren't responding or anything like that. So, as the generation advances, things get a bit more blurry. They notice that if you rotate the camera, you'll basically get an update on those textures. That said, again, it's no longer the same environment. Now, one interesting thing we'll see here is that if you press the enter key, you can make things appear. So, let's see. Police cars drive by. And although this tends to take a minute, just like our latency, before anything actually happens. Yeah, there they are. So yeah, we got our police cars over there.
Very cool, but what would you even use this for, right? Like, you're creating your own world on a programming level, that's fine. But does the player in real time actually create things? I didn't really get the gameplay, Comment below if you see a purpose for this, right?
Actually, a police car just drove right past us too. Very good. Now, I have to say that the Forza version performs a little better. Not in terms of the actual game performance. It's still a bit slow, and that's really tough when you're playing a driving game. For starters, I'm not very good at driving games. But I have to say this one isn't that bad either.
The graphics are truly really nice. The textures, here the lush grass, the intricate weeds, they genuinely look really good. Only the sky looks kind of hand-painted, right?
But it looks really good, especially the grass textures and the skybox and everything else. Yeah, all of this looks really good for something that's literally generating video on the fly.
And remember, if you become a member here on the channel, you'll be able to support the channel and get your benefits, right? What are the benefits? You get early access to videos at level 1, and you also get priority replies to your comments at level 1. Now, if you're level 2, you get all of that, but in addition, you'll also have access to exclusive special videos for members, and you can also ask me anything you want. You just make a post in the community with a photo. Now, we have a community. You go there, upload a photo, post your question. It can be about business, money, recommendations, whatever you want. And I'll answer you as a level 2 member. You'll become a member, okay? Let's keep going here.
Frame by frame. I just want to assure everyone that I'm a much better driver in real life than this. Oh, look, we're going off course again. Now we're in some kind of desert. So, look, even though this is pretty interesting and cool, I think that, if you're looking at it from a game perspective, the game part is really about trying to keep control.
I think that with these graphics, if it were a little faster for a mobile game, I think it would already work. Comment below, you guys.
About your car. So, depending on what you consider fun, this may or may not be fun. But again, that's not really what we're talking about. What's cool about this is that, going back to our Liberty City sequence, we can switch this from Grand Theft Auto 4 to 5, once again, just by issuing a text prompt. Let's go with the beach boardwalk in Los Angeles. I click confirm, and then when we return to our game, I don't know if this is part of the model's delay or it's basically how the model works. But you know, it takes a minute to get there. Yeah, here we go. We're on a beach now. Now it looks a little less like Los Angeles and more like Atlantic City.
Wow, I'm impressed. It turned out really well. He was looking to the right, suddenly looked to the left, and there's already the sea, there's already a beach, and the textures are really good. Now, that's at the construction level, but when you open this up to the public, you can't let people keep changing things all the time, right? You have to establish some consistency there, right? Otherwise, things get really crazy, right? Everyone typing and changing the world, I think it's good for building the universe, and then you set it in place, right? So, there's the beach area, then there's the New York area, then the Miami area. Anyway, I think that's interesting, right? Here, at the builder level, without any programming at all, just by entering prompts and building, it's incredible. And like I said, you no longer need to be a programmer. You need to understand what's going on, obviously, to communicate with the AI, but you need to be much more creative than actually being a hardcore programmer. That's really cool.
But, I think if we gave it a bit more time, eventually it would start generating things like palm trees and other stuff. So yeah, this is really cool. And now the most interesting part about this is that you can also create your own games. For example, just take this image generated in Midjourney, definitely inspired by The Witcher, and then bring it in and click the upload button here. Now we have one that I wouldn't call as good as The Witcher, but we have a dark fantasy third-person environment, a dark fantasy forest that we can walk through and explore. By explore, I mean it gets a bit rough as we go on, but I have something interesting to say about that in a minute. So I'm going to talk about The Witcher 4.
Before he talks about The Witcher 4, I made a video that I'll leave here in the cards, which is basically a feature where you make your own game. You put yourself inside the game, which is a feature from Runway. So basically, Runway started out as a video generator and a very good one at that. Then he started adding other features, and one of them is this game building aspect. But over there, it's different. It's really cool. It's like a card game where you create the game right there, okay? Then you type in prompts for yourself, interacting with the game, and the artificial intelligence responds to you. So, for example, you go there and write that you want to use a certain power, for instance. Then the AI generates an image of you giving power to someone. Then you lose like a certain amount of lifetime. Then you win some kind of potion. Then you say, now I want to use the potion to recover myself. Then it basically generates an image of you drinking the potion. So you're in the game. It's an interactive game, but at the same time, it keeps generating images of your game in real time as if you were in one of those RPG games you keep watching, right? There's the book, the dice, and everything else, so it's really cool. I found it really interesting. I'll leave it here in the playlist about artificial intelligence applied to games that I have here on the channel.
But I'll say that there are no horses stuck on top of buildings. So in the end, this is like Stadia 2.0. Clearly it's not. Obviously, as the game progresses, there's a lot of decoherence. Things get blurry, and the controls become sluggish. There's also not much interaction. There are no NPCs, quests, or missions here either. But again, it's interesting that this is where we start to see many other branches of the generative AI tree coming together. For example, taking some screenshots from our gameplay footage and bringing them into ELEVENLABS' new video restyler. So, we can take a scene like this one, which I previously captured in Mirage. Obviously I was trying to hit that taxi, by the way, and I completely missed it. We can take this and bring it into Luma's modification feature and end up with something like this. In fact, this was done using just a text-to-video prompt, so we still have some issues in terms of overall coherence. But in terms of the actual output fidelity, clearly this looks much cleaner. But playing around with an image-to-video input reference by taking the first frame of our video, bringing it into Midjourney, and retexturing it, yeah, you can actually get some pretty cool results with that. I ended up with this one and tested Mago's new video restyler. I'll dive deeper into that in a video coming out soon. We ended up with this as an output that, at least stylistically, looks really cool. You still have some issues with morphing and, object persistence and things popping up, but, at the same time, it looks really good. It looks like a game. Now, it's very important to reiterate and note that none of this is actually happening in real time, although there is definitely a very powerful use case for utilizing AI as render passes, as demonstrated here by friend of the channel, Martin Nebulon. So, at the bottom of the screen, you see a sculpture that Martin put together in the PlayStation software Dreams. He's kind of a wizard at this, which he controls with motion controllers. Above it, we see a render pass taken from that output. And yes, it looks really good. I think this definitely shows that we're not far from being able to take low poly preview characters and basically go straight to print with them. As a final experiment, I thought.
That's basically what people do when they like take Capcom, right? Take Resident Evil 1, for example. So they release it, right? Resident Evil was the first one back on PlayStation 1, right? Then you come and release the new Resident Evil 1, but it's basically not a new story. I'm not saying it's exactly this example, right? Sometimes there's a new story, but sometimes it's simply the same game with a new skin, with better resolution, right? That just happened now, right? On the Nintendo Swift, right? Switch. You simply have some games that are exactly the same, but they've just been, polished a bit with higher resolution, right?
It would be interesting to take our footage, which isn't from The Witcher. Once again, we run it through LumaLabs modification tool, and this is what we get as output. And I think it looks really good. There are some issues, like the walking cycle, which is a bit unstable. I'm really impressed with the shadow. The shadow details remain consistent. But overall, the background, the scene looks very good. So, taking this and running it through the new Astra Creative Video Upscaler from Topaz Labs. So, running it with the Creative Bold settings, we end up with this. What I mean is, it's subtle, but it's definitely there. You can see that it really improves. I think on the rocky path there, that's definitely a place where we see some improvement a lot, like in the foliage here and obviously in the trees. So I think it's more of a background thing than anything else. But yeah, I mean, it looks really good. Now, as for the current limitations in things like object permanence, well, I've seen at least one paper addressing that. That is the Game Craft by Yunnan, which again claims to have solved this problem, although we haven't actually seen that happen yet. But we've also seen a completely independent paper called VM that's about to be published, which also addresses the same issue. So,
in fact, there's a rumor now that they're going to make a version of Google VO3 for games, because there's already a system from Google for universes. Maybe what they'll do is put the VO3 technology into this other Google Universe Generation technology.
I've generally found, at least covering this topic for the past 2.5 years, that when you see 2 or 3 papers coming out at the same time, all addressing the same problem, it usually means that some kind of breakthrough has been made on the research side, and everyone is just trying to figure out the best angle or type methodology to get there. Meanwhile, Google DeepMind has been suspiciously quiet on the Genie front, and I'm sure that...
Exactly this one. Look at that. I ended up anticipating what the master said there, but basically that's it. Can you imagine applying Google VO3 here?
They're cooking something up. I know everyone is really busy with their V3 selfies, like and SMR videos cutting glass. But what I'm keeping an eye on is the fusion of Genie and VO3, because in the end, that's really the ultimate goal of AI video generators. It's not about video generation, but about world simulation. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. The characters, the story, and, the adventure in these games. And this, at least in part, is something we saw 2 videos ago with Runway's Game World. Now, it's true that Game Worlds is much more text-based, like an updated version of...
This is the one I mentioned, folks.
With images. That said, connect all of this to a voice generator, say ELEVENLABS, and then have something like Game World essentially requesting a future version of everything we've seen before. I mean, yes, this is something that requests any game and starts playing. Now, just to get ahead of any comments like...
I'm sure that this game generator from Runway Since Runway is a video generator. I'm sure right now it's generating images, but soon it'll be generating video. Then it will become much more interactive because you'll be in the game, moving around. Just look at how amazing that is. If you suddenly add a voice in there or something like that, you get even more immersed, creating your own games with yourself as one of the characters. Look at how incredible that is. Leave a comment below. Did you feel like creating your own game now that it's getting easier and more accessible without needing to be a programming master? Comment below. I want to know. I'll leave some recommendations here so you can keep going with me. See you in the next video. See you soon.